I'm Laura Mioli-Farragon. I work at CUNY SPH, or some of you might know the school as. I work a lot on our instructional design. I'm helping with the transition to Brightspace. I help our faculty, and I will be, I'm also a host and producer of the Making Public Health Personal podcast, which you can find anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Right. And so has anyone here not heard a podcast before? I feel like if you're here, you probably have. Okay, good. Get this. Awesome. Okay, awesome. So since we're talking about AI a lot, I used Canva to make this presentation. And I had like these long paragraphs of, what a podcast is and then how they help students. And I used the AI feature in Canva to shorten it. So that is something we'll kind of talk about as we talk about assessments. But as a professor or as professors and presenters, you might want to use this tool as well. So it helped me shorten it. I think it still maintained everything I need to say, but podcasts are digital audio files that can be downloaded and listened to on computers or mobile devices. And they offer a convenient way to access a variety of content while on the move. They serve as a platform for content creators and listeners to engage and exchange ideas, stories, and viewpoints, promoting understanding and building connections within communities. So we'll kind of talk about those. We'll kind of talk about how it benefits students as we go through the presentation. Okay, so something I'm going to suggest to a lot of you is to use podcasting as an assessment in your course material. AI has been around for a while, but with ChatGPT now becoming popular for students, we have this plagiarism fear that they're going to use ChatGPT to answer our discussion boards or to write a paper for them. If you have them do a podcast, you are hearing their voice. You have there's more chance that they're not plagiarizing because they have to present information. So podcasts allow in-depth research, discussion, and exploration of topics with lower plagiarism risk compared to written assignments. So you can still have them do that research part of it that they would do for a paper, but have them do it in podcast form. Podcasts enhance student and faculty voices, offering creativity to storytellers and honing interviewing and communication skills. So something that students can do is work together. They can co-host an episode together. They can interview each other. They can give each other ideas. And it really lets them take something that they might have written as a paper and think out of the box on how they might want to present that. So podcasts give a lot of options for students, and they can also do a video podcast. It doesn't have to be just audio. But I often suggest audio because some students might be afraid to be on camera or they might not want to be recorded. And podcast assignments are a great way to encourage collaboration. You can try group projects with peer review integrated into all stages of production. So if you think of media production as 3 stages, we think of pre-production, regular production, which is the recording part, and post-production, which is the editing and the marketing part of it. So they can do peer review on any of those. It helps them get ideas from each other. It helps them get feedback from an audience, because that's what a podcast is reaching a large audience. And if they have each other to kind of bounce ideas off of, can you listen to a draft of my audio? How does it sound? It really fosters collaboration in that way. Tips for teaching podcasting. It's over here. So is anyone here a media producer? Created podcasts before? Yes. Okay. So, but not anyone else. So you don't have to be a media producer or an audio editor to create podcasts. There's a lot of free tools out there. Use AI. They are very simple for people to use, even if you've never done it before. So what I'm suggesting is we ask students to create a podcast related to the course content. So whatever you're teaching, you can make them, you can ask them to create a podcast. Major aspects of the assignment would include creating a proposal or project plan, finding a guest speaker or co-host, reaching out to that person, scheduling with them, preparing questions, topics, and scripts for that interview. So they want to have their introduction script written out, their questions, and how they're going to end the podcast. That's something that they could write out in advance. And then all of those first three things are things that we can ask ChatGPT to help with, and you can encourage students to use ChatGPT for that. So you say, put in your original proposal into there, and it will help them kind of work it out from there. They can also practice interviewing skills in groups. So you can have, if you have a synchronous class or you have group assignments, you can have them set up a time with each other where they could practice those interviews beforehand, or if they're the guests on each other's podcast, then they could definitely, practice before they actually hit record. It also helps them kind of get through the technical aspects of it. So podcasts, the way I suggest to record them and the way I do them for our show is on Zoom. So it's not anything super complicated and new that they have to learn. Bless you. The next thing is you can do peer review throughout production, as I was speaking about in the earlier slide. And another thing that we can use AI for is creating marketing graphics, title, and description. So that's something that not often people think about when they think about a podcast. You think it's just an audio file, but you need to have a title that people are going to click on. You need to have a description that's going to explain what it's about. And also for, think about SEO, which is search engine optimization. What are some keywords we can put into that title and description to have Google put it higher up in the search results? So ChatGPT is great for that. And to be honest with you, I use ChatGPT now for my podcast. I have these long descriptions. I say, please make this SEO friendly, and I put it in and it gives me like a nice, much better thing that I can edit from there. So, we're really encouraging students to use the AI tools because they are helpful with productivity, but having them know how to use it ethically, make sure that it's still representing their content. And in terms of marketing graphics, I use Canva quite a bit, and they have free options, but you can ask Canva to create an image for you. So if you know the title of your podcast, you know who your guest is, you put the photo in, it can generate an image for you and you could work from there. So the students don't have to be graphic designers. You don't have to be graphic designers to ask them to create something. And the last part of the assignment is something I always recommend for any kind of big project like this, which is reflect on the assignment, comparing the initial proposal to the final podcast. So any kind of media production that I've worked on, whether it be video, film, podcast, anything, what you start with as your proposal is never the same thing that it ends up being at the end. And so having them take a step back at the end and say, this is what I ended up with. What did I think it was going to be? And having that proposal in the beginning, they can really compare and contrast. And here are just some things that students learn from podcasting. They learn interview skills, whether or not they're interviewing someone in a formal one-on-one, whether it's a panel, whether they're speaking to another student. They learn interview skills that they can use in their job search. They learn how to write a pitch and proposal. They learn how to create marketing materials, whether that be the writing aspects of it or the graphics. You can pick and choose whichever ones you think are important to your subject matter. They learn about designing graphics if you need. Audio editing, which is a great tool to have no matter what your field of work. Collaboration and feedback, and project management. So a lot of students don't get a lot of practice reaching out to professionals and saying, hi, this is who I am. Can we schedule an interview? This is for my class. Like, it gives them that really good way to connect with people. They might find a mentor out of that person. They will get some really good information that will help them, and they'll build those connections. So I love to give students opportunity to project manage big projects like this. And here's just a quick 3-item podcasting rubric that I put together. And you can definitely use it for your class. The third one is optional. So if you have a media production class or something where you want them to really focus on marketing or writing, you can grade them on episode length, brevity, audio quality, interviewing skills, or the marketing elements. These are kind of the optional things that you can add on. But if we go back to the first two items of the rubric, how well does the podcast graphic, title, and description represent the episode or the audio? And then the research and subject matter, how well does the host or producer back up, fact check, or support what is being said? So you can still have them do this podcast as a traditional research paper. They would just have to present it in audio format. So you're not losing that research part of it. And minimum podcasting requirements, you need a computer with internet access. I do my interviews on Zoom. If you have an, I use Zoom, and then a similar recording tool is also an option. I don't know if there's Skype anymore, but there's Google and things like that. You can use Adobe Creative Cloud or Descript or any editing app that you're comfortable with. There's Camtasia, there's a ton of them out there, whichever one you feel like you know and you're comfortable with, and the students don't have to, stick to one in particular. The next thing is a microphone or a device with audio recording capabilities. You can use your phone for that. You can either turn on Zoom and hit record, those little cheap $10 microphones that plug in and you can attach it to your shirt. Those are great if you're doing like an in-person interview, but the audio doesn't have to be, professional quality for students to get a taste of what it's like to make a podcast. It helps, it's not a requirement, but it helps to have a unique perspective, curiosity, and openness to collaboration because you're going to have them work together. And then lastly, Canva or the graphic design app, they can use to create episode art. And they want to have creative marketing skills to share the episode because they might share it on social media, they might share it on LinkedIn, or they might put it on their professional portfolio. So it's not like a paper where it sits on their hard drive for the rest of their life and they never get to share it unless it's published. But a podcast, they can really put anywhere on their website. They could put it on YouTube and they could share it when they're applying for jobs. And these are some benefits of AI. I've been kind of mentioning some of them, but here are some ways to incorporate AI into the podcasting process to encourage ethical usage. So AI can write the podcast description, pitch, proposal, and interview questions. It can also suggest potential episode titles. I use that a ton because I love to have different ideas and different options for what my title could be. It can also generate a transcript for accessibility and summarize the interview. Those are all things that ChatGPT can do, except for the transcript. You can see if you upload something on YouTube, it'll give you those closed captions automatically. But if you use something like Descript, which is an editor for audio or video, it can generate the transcript and you can actually edit the transcript and it will make the changes to the audio. So if you have a part where you came back and you completely wanted to redo your introduction and it's at the end, you can just copy the text, paste it into the beginning, and it's rearranged. Back in the day, like before any of this stuff, you would have to like sit and listen to the whole episode maybe like 4 or 5 times if you're doing it right. And it would take hours and hours. And so now it's much easier. You can just copy and paste like you're using text. And then you can have AI create the episode art and marketing images. So to summarize the interview is something helpful. You can ask the student to take the transcript, paste it into ChatGPT, and ask that to summarize it. And it gives you a nice, however long you tell it, 500 words or whatever. So I love using those tools because it gives me like an outside perspective. Sometimes you're too close to like what you're doing and you want like that outside perspective. And so now let's discuss what is stopping you from using podcasting as an assignment in your course. Or if you have any questions, please let me know. Yes.
What's SEO?
SEO is search engine optimization. So it's using keywords like podcasting will come up. If someone searches podcasting, how high in the search results will it be? Yes.
Is this
this be a semester-long assignment where they do each episode as in lieu of their assignments, or do you do it as a one-off?
You could absolutely do a weekly assignment. It could be like their discussion board, for example. It does take a lot of preparation, so it might be a lot, but if you're teaching a media production class, that would be perfect. I suggest this as like a full semester long kind of replacement to a research paper. But there are many options. You can pick and choose kind of the steps of the assignment, and you can just take out the ones you don't want to do, you know, like these are kind of the parts of the assignment if you were to do it fully, but you can just pick, you know, if you want to just do the interviewing, do an interview a week and have them upload it, that's an option. Yes.
Well, I currently have an assignment, which involves some cultural aspects. My students have to interview a person outside, different from their background, about certain traditions. So they do it as written assignment. So I was wondering, I love this idea really to transform this into an audio or a video, but if that is the case, would I need a special clearing? Because the person usually in the written assignment, they are anonymous. But in here, they will appear because they have to state their gender, age, their cultural background. So I don't know how your university.
So when I do the podcast for our school, we actually have a release form that we ask for. But if there are any cultural or things that people don't want to be on camera, you could just do the audio portion and not say their names, or they could have an alias name.
Okay.
So that is an option. I always check with the people I'm interviewing to see how comfortable they are with where I'm sharing it. I have them listen to it before I post it, just to make sure anything they want to take out, I do that. That's just how I go about it. Yeah. Yes. Hi.
Do you offer this assignment to students who are freshmen or upper, upper the higher level course?
I've actually done this with high school students too, so it could really apply to any students, any age. It kind of depends on how creative are you in terms of the course content and how do you apply it to the subject. So it could really work for any assignment.
So you have to scaffold. So someone they were already familiar.
In the high school and the freshman, college freshman kind of age group, I would do more scaffolding. It depends on what their major is. Like if they're media production majors, they already have an interest in that stuff. They might already be super familiar with technology. But if they're not, you might want to walk them through, show them how to do certain things. There are also videos on YouTube of how to do all of these steps, you know, like how to record on Zoom, things like that. And you can use the class time to practice each step. So we're going to set up in groups and we're going to, you know, everyone set up Zoom on your computer and start your interview and hit record and make sure it works. You know, you can do that scaffolding throughout the class. So, yeah. Any other questions? Are there any classes you're teaching where you think this might not apply, that you can't use a podcast? Sure.
Use audiovisual recordings as part of our teaching content, subject matter content. For example, what is the distinctive feature of podcasting versus, for example, I know for TED Talk or podcast. What is the distinct feature of this?
The feature is that there's flexibility in it. So students can do a video podcast or they can do an audio podcast, and it's edited. So it's not like, you know, the way I'm standing here giving you a talk and I can't take out my mess ups or my ums and whatever. You know, they have the chance to go through and edit that. So if they have a person who's not comfortable, maybe they said something that represents who they are and they want to make sure their identity is taken out, you can go back and edit that part out. So that's like the helpful part of podcasting, is that it's not live. Yes.
What do you use what tool do you use with students for that editing, or sound, or?
For the audio editing, I always recommend Descript. DESCRIPT. It's a new tool that I started using for maybe the past year, just because the easy thing about it is the transcript part of it. But a lot of other tools now are using that option, and Descript has a free option as well. It's not a paid software. But if they're using like any of the Adobe Creative Cloud, like Premiere, Audition, those also have AI enhancements now, and they're getting better and better as we go on. But they have that transcript option as well. So really anything. I think you can even edit on your phone, I believe. So, but Descript, what I like about it, it has a feature called Studio Sound. So if your audio recording wasn't great, or you have like background noise or something, you just hit the button Studio Sound and it will make it sound nice, like really nice. And I have been super impressed by that. And also has just some other features that come out every month that I'm just amazed by. They have really good stuff. It's free. Yeah, they have a free option. Yeah. A lot of the free stuff will have like a time limit, so it might say like 20 minutes maximum or whatever, but you know, it's good, yeah. Yeah. Sure. Descript. Yeah. CRIPT.
Question.
Yes.
For example, if the student is using sign language to record themselves, is it possible to add like caption to the for example, the script?
They would have to type it in, but yes, they can add it as so it would be a video podcast at that point, but Descript has a video option. So they would type in their transcript for those parts that are sign language, and then it would come up on screen as captions. So it would be on all the time, not like YouTube where you turn it on and off, but you could make it up the whole time. And something speaking of accessibility, something good about podcasts is we always try to make sure it has a transcript. So if you put it on YouTube, it has those closed captions. Students can use a screen reader if they need to read the captions to them. But if something I do on my podcast is I take it and I put it as a Word document and I link to it. So if they want to just look at it as text, that's a good option. And I encourage you as professors to have students make a transcript, because you might not want to listen to every podcast to grade it. So it kind of makes it a little faster if you can look through the transcript. You might want to just listen to like the beginning, the end, and then quickly look through for your data or whatever information you're looking for for grading, if you don't have the time to listen to every person's podcast. Any other questions? Yes.
Sometimes privacy concerns may escalate into bigger trouble, and the law says you can't record somebody's image, voice, personal information, or whatever. And what is the current processes or the way to operate things with regard to recording students' voice and image? I remember during COVID lockdown, we are not allowed to record images of students. They can remain behind the scenes. So, but I don't know what the current situation is.
Well, you can post your class as a podcast, like a CUNY class on Zoom, for example. But when you do a podcast assignment, the students are reaching out to people and asking them permission to record them. So that email exchange of, are you available, what time, that is, legally their agreement. And I always ask them to listen to it, sign off, and give me the okay before we agree. So
mere agreement is very different from an informal consent.
Yeah, I mean, you can absolutely go online and find consent forms. I would recommend it, but it's not completely necessary if you're having the students interview each other.
Yeah, your college communications office will have a boilerplate
Release form.
release form.
Yeah.
That if they video record somebody, they have to sign.
Yeah,
So something like that would cover us.
exactly. I think we're done. Were there any last questions I can help with? Sure.
For the Canva, was it a free service that you were able to make the slides or?
I have a Teams account, so I think some of these graphics might be something you might pay $1 for or something if it was free. But the AI features of like rewriting, that's free.
Oh,
So it does have a lot of things, just certain graphics are paid options. Yeah. All right, guys, well, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
So we have a short break now.
Oh, yeah?
Our next presentation isn't scheduled to start until